Greetings, and thank you for tuning into the show. I am your host. I am a 1911 dad, and maybe you are too. Today I'll be reviewing the Springfield Armory 1911 MIL-SPEC Defender in 45 ACP. Springfield Armory also calls this the Defend Your Legacy Series 1911 MIL-SPEC 45 ACP. It's usually just called the MIL-SPEC. The SKU is Papa Bravo Delta Niner 108 Lima. That's Papa Bravo Delta 9108 Lima. Before we jump into it, I am not sponsored by Springfield Armory. I am not sponsored by anyone. I will shill for no one. So this is an honest review. It's a very popular pistol. They sell a lot of these. For a lot of people, this is their first foray into the 1911 world. It's a very popular pistol. I've owned one for about 6 years. It actually wasn't my first 1911, but they went on sale a while ago, and it was such a good deal. I said, I got to have another one. 1911s can be addictive. You'll, if you jump into this world, you'll find that. And so I've owned it for about 6 years, have quite a few rounds through it. I'm going to run through some features, and then I'll give you my personal thoughts and experiences on this firearm. The theme of this gun, of the Springfield Armory MIL-SPEC 1911 Defender, whatever tag they put on it, is it's not an exact copy of a World War II M1911A1, but it's pretty close. It's got a little bit bigger thumb safety than you'll see on World War II ones. I think the sights are a little bit bigger. They're also different. They're better. They are 3-dot sights. It does have, though, other than just a few little nitpicky things, it really is very faithful and very close to a vintage World War II kind of 1911. I like high-end 1911s. I like feature-laden 1911s, but it's also fun, just for sheer fun factor, to pick up a gun that your grandfather, your great-grandfather, your father, this is the kind of weapon they would have used, and to see if it's still relevant, and to experience what they experienced. So World War II themed, it's got the GI beaver tail. It does not have an upswept beaver tail like most modern. It's got what's called the 1911A1 grip tang. So it is not an upswept beaver tail. It's got a GI hammer. It's not a race hammer. It has the arched mainspring. It is not the straight mainspring that is common on more modern 1911s. And there's no checkering on it. It features the short trigger, which I love. There's a saying in 1911 triggers, short triggers fit everyone, long triggers fit some. And you got to remember, when this thing was introduced back in 1911, American soldiers, they were smaller. I think the average height of a World War I soldier, I think, and I'm going off memory, I think it's 5'6", 5'5", 135 pounds for a male. So not as big. Not like in Texas, where I live, where I'll be standing behind someone at church and I'm like, this is 125% scale human. This dude is so big. I mean, I'm 5'9" on a good day, and he's just towering over me, but that's not what it was back then. So smaller people, smaller hands, you need a trigger that fits it, that fits these smaller people's hands, and it fits my hand great. So I love the short trigger, but it is the old military style short trigger. Let's talk about that trigger. So this is an entry-level 1911, but 1911s are known for their triggers. Most people shoot them well, and enjoy shooting them because of their predictable triggers. I'll do an episode where we just dive in really deeply of what makes a great 1911 trigger, but I will tell you this. In my M&P 2.0, I have a $200 Apex trigger. It's about as good a striker fired trigger as you can get. I have it set up pretty light, and it's really the pinnacle. To quote Honest Outlaw, speaking about that Apex trigger in an M&P 2.0, he said, this expensive $200 trigger, he said, it's almost as good as the worst 1911 trigger you've ever felt. So here you buy this entry-level gun, you're going to be, I think, under $600, and yet you're going to have this amazing trigger. And by amazing, short take-up, hits a firm wall, crisp break, and very little over travel. So you talk about a budget entry-level 1911, but you've still got that wonderful trigger that not only feels great when you're dry firing, but you're going to see improved scores at the range. This trigger has never been bested, which is crazy. This is based on the pistol model of 1911. I mean, it's 2026. You would have thought by now someone would have figured out a better trigger, but they haven't. So the trigger on this thing is great. Like a lot of 1911 triggers, the more you shoot it, the parts kind of wear together and it smooths out. They slick up as they rub against each other. It kind of manually polishes them, and the trigger gets better with age. I think mine is breaking at about 4 pounds, which I think is a good, as long as you have good trigger discipline, I think that's a good weight for a lot of people, is that 4 to 5 pound range. It's got 3-dot sights. It comes with, like I said, a little bit updated sights versus the original World War II, but it does make it easier to use. And I actually, on my sights, I blacked out the rear dots and painted the front sight with red nail polish. And you'd be surprised, at least for me, very low tech. Black out the rear dots, paint the front sight with some red nail polish, but a very visible in all light conditions, easy to find sight. Now those sights are not replaceable. And again, this is an entry-level gun. It's made more toward how they built them in World War II. So they're not beaver-tailed like those front sights where you can just pop in new sights. But that's a concession to its history and also the cost. It does have a stainless steel match barrel. It's got a forged frame and slide, and the frame and slide, like every Springfield I've had, is good. The barrel locks up tight, and we'll do an episode on how to accurize a 1911. But when you pick up a 1911, you ought to be able to take your thumb, push hard on the barrel. There should be no movement. You want it to lock up nice and tight, and this one does. It's got wood grips. They're checkered, but they're not fancy. I think the GI, most of the World War II kind of spec GI ones were more like almost a plastic. But they look good. They're simple. They're clean. The wood's nice, so I like the grips. It has a Parkerized finish. And a Parkerized finish is not the most durable finish. I mean, holsters, although I've yet to find a finish that really holds up to a holster. Leather or Kydex. I mean, even your most expensive, coatings, whether it's blued or whatever, some kind of painted on, It's tough. You wouldn't think a holster would tear up finishes, but they do. If you carry your gun, you're going to rub some of the finish off. That's just what it is. And so the Parkerized finish, I like it because it looks cool. It's kind of period correct for a World War II style gun. Also, if you ever want to refinish it, you can go on YouTube and find videos that show you with a pot how you can re-Parkerize the gun and parts. So I like it's a maintainable finish. It's not the world's most durable. Parkerization is like bluing. It holds lubricant in the finish, and that's what keeps your gun from rusting. So you do want to wipe them down once in a while with some oil just so they can hold that oil. This gun has a pretty well fitted barrel bushing. Now, it's not less bear tight. It's a production gun, but there's not a lot of slop in it. And if you want more accuracy, you can purchase and fit a custom barrel bushing. That is a relatively cheap, easy way to improve the accuracy. But this gun is plenty accurate. Armory Life tested this. It was a Mossad Ayub article. 5-shot groupings at 25 yards with Winchester white box, 230 grain FMJ. They were quoting 2-inch spread on 5 shots at 25 yards using Winchester white box, which I love. Cheap ammo. I mean, that's not match ammo by any means. And you go, wow. I mean, 2 inches at 25 yards. I can't hold a gun that still. So it's not an ultra tight fitted bushing, but it still produces great accuracy, certainly more accurate than most of the World War II era guns. And if you really want more accuracy, it's not hard to fit a new barrel bushing. Okay, it comes with 1 magazine. It's a GI style magazine. Your capacity is 7 in the magazine plus 1. Of course, you can buy, if you want another round, you can buy a Wilson Combat 47D that'll hold 8 rounds, or a Chip McCormick, or something higher capacity if you need it. This gun is built in the USA, which for such a historically relevant gun is a nice touch. And the MIL-SPEC is only available in 45 ACP. I love 45 ACP. We will address the caliber wars on a future show. But 45 ACP obviously has served this country, the United States, for a long time, has a highly proven combat record. Now, 45 ACP is much more expensive than 9mm. If you shoot a lot, you don't just look at the cost of acquisition when you buy a pistol. You look at the operating cost. Ammo, of course. I mean, if you shoot a lot, for most guns, you can spend more in ammo in a year than the gun itself costs. So 45 ACP, nothing feels like it. You're experiencing what veterans and great Americans fought with. And the 45 ACP, the recoil is certainly more stout than 9mm, but you're getting that authentic experience, and that round is absolutely still a viable self-defense, home defense, carry caliber. So let's talk price. MSRP is $725. I saw it online yesterday for $573.99. So you can get into a good quality American-made 1911 for under $600. And I'm not hawking for Springfield Armory, but for people listening to this that aspire to be a 1911 dad, this is in my opinion, is a good foray into that. You're not going to spend a ton of money. You're going to get a quality gun. And when you look at something like Glock 19 Gen 6 is 620, and don't get me wrong, Glock makes a very reliable gun, but when you compare it to this one and you go, this one's polymer, this one's metal, this one has history, this one feels like tactical Tupperware, this one shoots the mighty 45 ACP, this one shoots the not as special but more affordable 9mm. This one has a trigger. The Glock has a trigger that I routinely make fun of. They are prone to, in my humble opinion, it's not a great trigger. It tends to have multiple kind of false walls, creep. It's hard to shoot that trigger well. You buy this MIL-SPEC, head to the range, that trigger is going to be helping you day one. So, not saying the Glock's a bad gun, but for less money than that, you can own a better shooting, more historic, just more elegant, in my opinion, firearm. So, those were kind of the specs. How has my experience been with this gun? I have found it to be very reliable after break-in. You go, oh, after break-in, what does that mean? 1911s have break-in periods. Like I talked about with hammer and sear. You have parts rubbing against each other. Springs are stiff. If you buy a 1911, I wouldn't judge its reliability till you've put 300, 400, 500 rounds through it. Let it wear in a little. Even in the magazines, it's that way. Let the parts work together. Get some rounds through it. Then judge it. And admittedly, you can pull a Glock out and it's gonna work perfectly day one. And your 1911 may too. But again, it is customary, like engines of the World War II period, where you had to break them in. The 1911 is meant to be broken in. Mine has been very reliable after a few 100-round break-in, great trigger. Some people worry about slide bite since it doesn't have the upswept beaver tail. I've never had slide bite. Slide bite is where your grip is high on the gun and you fire and the slide comes back and it catches kind of the skin between your thumb and your forefinger. I've never had slide bite. I've never had hammer bite, where the hammer can come back. I think Springfield, the way they did the tang, I've never had the hammer come back and actually catch me. And I enjoy shooting this gun, not just two-handed, but one-handed. And of course, everyone now says you got to shoot two-handed, and you should. But the ability to shoot one-handed, you'd be surprised when you look at actual lethal force encounters how many times people's hands, forearms are shot or injured, and then they must shoot with one hand. And the 1911 was designed to be shot with one hand. If you look at training materials in the World War II era, it's all one-handed shooting. So the gun doesn't just shoot well with two hands, but it was meant to be shot one-handed. And you go, well, I'm not going to get my arm shot or my hand shot. But you might be holding a flashlight. You might want to hold a flashlight in your left hand and then hold your pistol in a low ready. If you hear a noise in your house, you don't know what it is. I'm not comfortable searching around with a weapon-mounted light. That could be a loved one or something I don't want to point a gun at. So the ability to hold a flashlight with your weak hand, have your strong hand at a low ready, and then, if necessary, to be able to fire that gun accurately with one hand, I think that's a cool feature. Again, it was designed to be shot one-handed, and it is enjoyable doing so. What is this gun good for? I'd say almost everything. I've used it for nightstand. I can still carry it all the time. It could be a vehicle gun. The only thing it might not be the best choice would be competition. You shoot a lot of rounds in competition. 45 ACP is more expensive, quite a bit more, almost double than 9mm. So if you're running a lot of competitions, shooting a lot of rounds, training, then it certainly will do it and shoot well, but also the higher recoil of 45 ACP, it can make it a little slower in your splits when trying to fire multiple shots, because that higher recoil does want to pull you off the target a little more. You got to really be careful with your grip, and we'll have an episode on grip in the future where we talk about how to mitigate that 45 ACP recoil and still get good splits. So the gun does everything pretty much well, except maybe competition. I carry it. I'll talk about that in a future episode. I think it carries great. It's big, it's heavy, but it's not wide. And it's just a cool gun to add to your collection. I think every serious gun owner should own a 1911. They shoot great. They're historically extremely significant. I will say this, be careful. This gun can be, if you don't own a 1911, this gun can be a gateway drug into owning many 1911s. I mean, I won't tell you the number that I think would satisfy my personal collection, but it's more than 10. If Texas tea starts spewing out of my backyard, I don't even know how many 1911s I'd buy, and I'm not a collector, I'm a shooter. So once you get into these things, you go, it'd be cool to have one with a beaver tail, and it'd be cool to have one with a rail, and it'd be cool to build one that's dedicated race, and it'd be cool to do this finish. So it is, you can own just one, but beware, if you buy a gun this cool, you might want to own even more. So how does it stack up? If you're considering this gun, you might be considering the Gerson, maybe their MC 1911. I own that, and I'll review that soon. Or maybe you're looking at TSOS or Rock Island Armory or ATI or Taurus, which I can tell you right now, just steer clear of Taurus would be my opinion there. But versus these lower price foreign competitors, there are cheaper guns. But remember when I talked about lockup? I've never picked up a Springfield and pushed on the barrel and there was any movement, because that is not an easy problem to fix. If a 1911 doesn't lock up tightly, you're really into a new barrel, and that is not a trivial thing to fix. Some of those lower price competitors, not made in America, they can be good guns, but their lockup isn't always good. And once you have that problem, like I said, it's especially on a cheaper gun, it's difficult to fix that in a cost-effective manner. So why wouldn't you purchase this particular 1911 if you want an upswept beaver tail? Before you buy it, you ought to hold the 1911 with an upswept beaver tail. Some people, that's a really big deal. It lets you get a little higher on the gun. And so if that's a must-have feature, that would be a reason to go up a notch from this kind of entry-level World War II style. Also, if you want to change your sights, like I mentioned, the sights don't change easily. But I modified my sights by sharpening out the back 2 dots and painting the front sight with nail polish, red nail polish. Walmart, $4. In summary, I think it's a beautiful gun in the way a Tupperware pistol can never match. It's functional. It reminds you of our history, but again, you can carry it. You can defend your home with it. This design and this style of 1911 has proudly served World War I, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, GWOT, and it has just performed and performed. Troops have always loved it. In fact, some elements of the Marines during the global war on terror were using their Berettas chambered in 9mm, the M9, also known as the Beretta 92 FS, and they requested they be reissued 1911s that had been out of service for decades. But the Army still had them, and actually quite a few of those Marines were issued World War II stock 1911. So it has just served, and even when you thought it was done serving, troops said, can we get those back? Has a storied history in Special Forces. It's still, that continues to this day. When you shoot a 45 ACP GI style 1911, you feel like you are shaking hands with John Wayne. The first time I shot one, you feel like you're just grabbing that firm handshake of the Duke. It's so American. You shoot this thing and eagles fly over and a McDonald's open somewhere. It's so America. But it's not just so America. It is a shooter. When you consider the history, quality, fun factor, and price, I think the Springfield MIL-SPEC is hard to beat. If you found today's show entertaining, please like and subscribe. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.